Brandon, how you doing?
Doing good, doing good. How are we?
Oh man, we're doing good over here. Happy to have you. Thank you for obviously coming on and talking a little bit of boxing. And yeah, man, just helping us get a little bit closer to you know more about you is really what we want to know here. We interviewed Avis Griffin, and he spoke highly of you. So you're obviously everything to do with the position that he is in, and I wanted to, get you on and get your story, if that's okay.
Yeah, no, I'm honored. Appreciate you having me this morning.
So, yeah, man, how'd you get involved with boxing outside of being a boxing manager? What is it about boxing that I guess appeals to you?
I never planned on working in boxing. To be honest, never really knew much about it other than I like to watch it as a fan. But I back in 2011, I started a sober living called the Ohio House out in Southern California. I started just, accidentally started it by helping a bunch of my old friends out from Ohio that needed help. And it just kind of turned into a program. And next thing I knew, a couple of years go by, and I'm sitting on like 15 properties and helping a lot of guys get clean and sober. And so part of my program, my best friend was a amateur boxer, and he's a boxing coach here locally in Southern California. And so, as part of my program, I incorporated an Ohio House boxing team. And it was really just a way to get guys off the streets that are starting this new life and just to get them in the gym, get them sweating, and get them feeling good about themselves and releasing some anger or whatever it may be, frustrations. And so I started the Ohio House boxing team, and it was just for my program, really. But I had a guy go through my program who had like 300 amateur fights out of Tennessee, and then he was part of the Ohio House boxing team, and that's how I got into boxing. That's not how I got into managing, but that was my start into incorporating boxing into my life.
So, what made you do the transition? What was it about Avis, or was there a fighter before Avis that sparked interest in you?
Well, there's a guy named Ryan Martin. He goes by Blue Chip. He was out of
Okay,
Chattanooga, Tennessee.
yeah, I
Yeah,
know
Ryan.
Ryan well.
Yeah, Ryan's good people, man. Um, Ryan and Avious actually grew up together, but Ryan was going through some hard times and stuff, and he was friends with that cat that went through my program. And I on Thanksgiving every year I have a big get together. I feed like 150 people, and I invited Ryan. I had met Ryan maybe a few months earlier when he was in town visiting his friend, and so when Thanksgiving came up, I invited him to my party, my Thanksgiving party, and he came through and ate with us. And then what was it, 2019? I took another company of mine public, ran it for about 2 years as a public company, and it just got insane. And the workload was I went from 16 hours a day to 19 hours a day, and I went from running a private company to running a public company. And after about 2 years, I had to stop. So I stepped down from that, and couple of years went by. I was kind of just cruising, making investments, and working on the side on some of my side projects. But I had too much time on my hand, so I wanted to start this plant-based protein company, and I was calling it Shake Addict. It was a cool brand, and I wanted to launch the brand with a boxing event, a marketing event, and I just got on the phone with Avious because I had a couple friends from his hometown that I knew, and I was calling them, asking them if they knew. Well, actually, I set up a fight for Ryan. Blue Chip Martin was the co-main event. He fought Soto Carras, and that was cool. But they told me about Avious. I talked to Avious and flew him out, and that's how we met. He just fought on my little marketing show. That's how we originally met.
That's dope. So how'd that connection? I mean, because he's really I mean, you sound like an important part of his life. So how'd you guys build a more than boxer manager relationship?
Well, shoot, when he came out, I told him, I said, he's like, he had just got out of jail. And I heard his story and I was like, man, that's a crazy story. I want to meet you, man. Come on out here. I'll give you 2 tickets. You can bring two people out. I'll fly you out, put you in the nicest hotel in Newport Beach, and we'll go from there. Because I didn't have like a big budget. I was paying fighters to fight on. This was just, headgear and 16s.
Hmm.
But 500 people showed up. Local people showed up to support the business I was launching. But when Avious showed up, he showed up with his mom and his son. I thought he was gonna bring two homeboys. You know, he showed up with his mom and his son. I was like, damn, that's pretty slick right there. I like that a lot. Put him up at the Pelican Hill, and then when we did the fight, you could hear a pin drop in this when Avius was fighting. He stole the show. His style, everything about him in the ring, it's just like we all like looked around. We were witnessing something great here, and then afterwards, Avius he said, "Hey," because he was at first he was asking me to sponsor him, for his, because he was paying for his own fights at that time and he needed sponsors, and I was like, "Yeah, man, I'll chip in, I'll help you out or whatever." But we got close, and then after the fight, he's like, "Hey, man, you should be my manager," and I was like, "Well, I don't know shit about boxing." But I know a lot about managing, and I know we can figure this shit out. And so I started a company called Came to Believe, CTB Athletics. I came to believe that Avius would be a world champion one day, and he came to believe that I could help him. And he came up with the slogan at the corner of the light. We were in Dallas. He said, "If you don't believe, you can't come." So it was all history from there, man.
That's dope, man. And
Oh.
it's crazy because it doesn't stop with Avis, right? For those that don't know Avis Griffin, you will know because he's on the Jake Paul undercard, which is another thing that you were able to, you know, assist him with. But you're also vital in putting him in that camp with Terrence Crawford and Brian McIntyre, Red Spikes, and Iso Diegas. If you could give us that story, because he claims that you were the one that hooked that up.
Yeah, Avius and I are such a great combo of working together. I've owned a few businesses and I've employed hundreds of people and I've had partnerships with strong people and I've always looked to work with people that we can grow together and work together. And Avius is just that guy. Me and him work so well together. He does his part and I do mine. And we uh we just go after it, so he tells me things like, so you asked about how we got with Bomac. We were in Vegas. He was with another coach. We were having, some issues with the timing and stuff like that, and I know he needed more. He needed more. he
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 was with
wanted
Coach
more.
Bullet at the time, another
Yeah, Bullet.
well-known
Yeah,
trainer.
Bullet's great, by the way. Loved working with Bullet. He's great, but yeah, he needed more than he could get at the time from Bullet. And so, we had that conversation with Bullet and tried to set it up for the last couple fights. We said, hey, we just need to be able to accomplish A, B, and C. Otherwise, we're going to have to find something else. And it just didn't work out, man. And so at the time, I was like, all right, who do you want to work with? And he said, Bomac. I was like, okay. So um, I I reached out to a couple people, got Bomac's cell phone, called him up. I said, hey, Bomac, I got a guy. He's undefeated. He's got knockout power, one punch knockout power. He's charming. He's charisma. He's got charismatic. He does what he says he's going to do. He's a leader inside and out of the gym. And this is Crawford went up from 47. He has the experience in the welterweight division. I said, this is your next guy, man. He said, all right, well, I'll take him for a week and see how he does. And I said, okay. I called Avious up. I was like, I got you. It's his camp, his testing grounds. They want to see what you're about. And Bomac hit me up at the end of the week and he said, this guy's going to be a world champion. He says we love him. He's like his skills. There's he's got to develop more skills. He gave me a few things. He's got to do this, this, and this. He's like, but he's got the biggest heart in the gym. You can't teach that.
Mm.
So he said we love him and we'll take him. And so we've been rocking with Bomac ever since.
So, what would you say? How many years do you have actively being a manager?
Three, a little over
Wow.
three. We actually, you know what? It's a trip. As I signed Avious in an alley behind Mayweather Gym on May 1st, 2022. Um, three
That's a
years
big
to the
alley, by the way. That's a huge parking lot, Mayweather's gym.
yeah, yeah. In the back, in the pictures, they got like the box springs and mattresses and dumpsters and stuff like that. It was pretty fitting for our lives and our relationship. That's where we did it. But 3 years to the date, it was a 3-year contract. 3 years to the date, we signed with Jake Paul, a promotional deal. So,
That's amazing, man. And
uh,
that's why I wanted to highlight the amount of time you got doing this because, bro, you're inspiring. Seriously. You got Kurt Scooby a deal with DeBella and now a deal with OTX. And Kurt
mhm.
Scooby is also your fighter. So that's like huge. You got some serious fighters under your stable in 3 short years. What's the story with Kurt and how'd you get with him? How'd you find that talent?
So I have a buddy out in Brooklyn, and he told me that he grew up with Cat, who was a trainer, an ex boxer out of Gleason's gym. He's like, Gleason's is like the most historical gym in Brooklyn. And he knew I was in boxing. He's like, I gotta take you out there. And at the time, I had built a relationship with Chris Colbert, Primetime, and also his
Okay.
coach, Sosa. And that's actually a really cool story. But so I'm spending time
Nah,
out
nah,
in New
nah, nah.
York.
Give it to me. Give it to me because actually, Arliano just texted me yesterday. We're extremely tight. He was texting me when they were in, I think, Thailand or whatever with Big Baby a couple weeks ago.
Okay. Yeah. So getting into the boxing thing when I signed I'm gonna back up a little bit. I got clean and sober in 2010 when I moved out to California. Then I started that sober living and treatment center in 2011. Well, I got 10 years of sobriety under my belt. And then when I stepped down from that company in 2021, I relapsed for like 2 years or like a year and a half. Yeah. And, um, and then I got cleaned up again, and I was going to start this shake company, and that's when I met Avious and signed Avious. I was clean, but like right after I signed him, I fell off again, and so he didn't know. He knew a little bit about my backstory, but he didn't know. I'm in Vegas, trying to. I'm on a run. I'm actually in Vegas gambling at the Cosmo, and Primetime's got a fight that weekend. I don't know who Primetime is. I don't know anything about him. But I'm at the roulette. I see Prime at a roulette table, all his jewelry on, his whole entourage right there. I think it was the day before his fight. Yeah, it was. It was the day before his fight. I actually gave him shit about that, but later on. But I walked up to the roulette table. I saw all these guys. I was like, "Hey, it's hitting four," and I put $100 on number four. I said it's hitting four right now. I got Prime and all the guys put money on four, and sure enough, man, it landed on four. And so like the whole table
That's what's
won.
up.
Yeah, the whole table won, and his coaches were there, and I met Sosa, and I said, "Hey, man, I'm in this boxing game, and I don't know shit." I was like, "Let me take you to dinner. Let me learn from you. Let me tell me a little something. Like, what do I
Yeah.
got to do in this game?" So I took Sosa crew, the whole crew, out to the STK at the Cosmo the night before the fight. His son, his brothers, his coaches, all like 15 people. Took them all out to dinner, sat next to him, and man, I was struggling. I was going back and forth between the bathroom, getting high, coming back to dinner. But like, he knew. Sosa knew too, and he was like, but he fucked with me, and he wanted to help me, and he was checking on me for the next like 3 months. I mean, the next 3 days, he was texting me or calling me every like hour. Hey, you good? Are you cool? Like anything I can do to help. And I just really appreciated that, man. He stayed on me for like 3 months. So I went out to New York. hung out with him, went and saw Prime spar, and then I went over to Gleason's. And when I went into Gleason's, my buddy took me from Brooklyn, took me over there, introduced me to Cat, and Cat introduced me to Don Saxby. And I just asked him, I said, you know, at the time I got Avious, I'm not really interested in signing other boxers. I really wanted to find success with Avious before I started to build up a roster. My mentality was always to do more for less than less for more. And but I was in that gym and it felt good. And I was like, who's the best boxer in here? He said, Kurt Scooby. So I stayed on him for like 6 months. I didn't even meet Kurt. I was just stayed on him. He had a manager at the time who was like kind of his lawyer, who wasn't really doing much management stuff, but was doing more like investing and legal stuff for him. That guy's name's Danny Gonzalez, and Danny's the man, dude. So I got a hold of. Finally, his coach saw what I was doing with Avius, and then he told, and he was having conversations with Danny all along. And he said, "Hey man, this guy Brandon's doing some good movement with Avious. You should talk to him." So I talked to Danny, flew back out to New York, met Scoob. Me and Danny did a deal. So I signed him to CTB and kept Danny along for the ride. And me and Danny been co-managing Kurt Scooby ever since.
That's dope, man. Again, inspiring story, man. So how'd you get him on OTX? Did they just come a knocking because of his style? Because he did get a couple viral moments. He's good on social media, or was that all you?
No, it wasn't all me. None of this shit's all me, man. You know, Scooby's just like Avious. He does his part, and I do mine. You know, and so like I'm just hammering all these guys. At the time, we don't have any promotional deal. We don't want one. We're building them up. We're taking them. My plan was like, let's get on as many platforms as possible while we're building you up. Let's travel the country. Let's fight on all these different club shows. Let's build a fan base in all these little different markets, and let's do our marketing and get great content of the fights. And you know, you do your job in camp and do your job in the ring and knock fools out and make it entertaining. And you know, be a leader in the gym and be there for your family. And you know, we'll go. And so every time these guys would fight, I would inform all the promoters, you know, because me and Avius would go to all the main events when we first got into this. We'd go to every pay-per-view fight. I'd get front row tickets, and we'd just talk to anybody in a suit. I'd get all these guys' numbers: Eddie Hearn, PBC, Golden Boy, shoot, you name them, dude, all of them. We would just get all their numbers, and then I would just hammer them before every fight. Hey, tune in, watch Avius, watch Scooby. And then afterwards, here's the results. You know, boom, another second round knockout, first round knockout, sixth round knockout, sold X amount of tickets, you know, this many hits on social media. And so I just keep all the guys in the loop. Well, Lou DiBella's in New York, and Scooby was in New York. And at the time, I found out Lou DiBella um, was looking for the next face of New York boxing, and actually Danny was the one. I had invited one of Lou DiBella's good friends out to one of Scooby's fights, and he was friends with Prime Time, he friends with me, and you know, so he was talking to Lou DiBella in the background, like, hey, this guy Scooby's the real deal. This guy Brandon's with him, but he ended up reaching out. I believe he ended up reaching out to Danny. Danny had the first meeting with him, so. Once Lou DiBella got him, the rest was history. We got it. We did it. You know, we stayed in touch with the OTX guys and got them on a show, and then plugged them with DiBella, and you know, here we are.
I gotta ask, bro. You dealt with, your addiction early. And
Oh
from
yeah.
what I found, you went to jail and stuff. So how'd you get money to be a manager? I mean, I see some accomplishments there, but I want to leave it up to you to, you know, go in the right direction.
Sure. Yeah. No. I.
Because I
I.
mean,
I
from what I'm reading, it says you struggled with homelessness. You went to jail. So like, I'm assuming how'd you come out of that and become, wealthy enough to manage fighters, Because in the beginning, you got to pay for them fights.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and I'm an open book with my previous past with addiction, and actually I've inspired a lot of people and helped a ton of people change their lives in this department. So I know a lot about it. But I grew up in a small town right outside of Cleveland, Ohio, and from like the age of like 18 to 23, I was it progressed from partying to partying with pills to partying with powders to next thing you know, I'm shooting heroin. And then once you get on that, you're stuck. So I went through a
Bro,
few rehab.
congratulations to you. I didn't even know it was heroin. I mean, I'm from North New Jersey. I know all about dope, bro. To come back from heroin and be this successful, amazing.
Yeah,
Shout out to you.
appreciate it, man. I moved out to California because I just couldn't get cleaned up in Ohio. I was trying, but I couldn't. Came out to Cali, and it just got worse. I thought Ohio was the problem. Turned out it was me. I just ended. Now I'm in California, and yeah, I was living in a car, and man, I just got to a point where I just, I was living in a car, and I remember writing it down. I just said, "Hey God, um, you don't exist. If you did, you'd get off that cloud you're living on and come down into this car and help me get sober because I'm probably going to die in the next few days." And the next morning, I pulled the rearview mirror down in my car, looked myself in the eyes, and said, "Hey, Brandon, let's try something different today. Let's try to stay sober for one day." And I walked into to the I was at a hotel parking lot that's sleeping in my car. And I walked into the kitchen area to get a cup of coffee, acting like I had a room there. And I asked for a cup of coffee, and they said, $2. And I was like, yeah, just charge it to room 212. And they're like, we don't do that here. And in that moment, man, the hustle that I had for everything, I couldn't even hustle a cup of coffee. At that moment, I was just like, all right. And I went to a local 12-step meeting, and I never got high again from that point for
How'd you
10
find
years
that
straight.
12 step?
I had been around, I knew that those existed. I had people, that were trying to get me to go to those things for a long time. But that day was different. And yeah, so I got cleaned up, and then I started the Ohio House, and that grew. I started making money from that. Started
Yeah,
helping
but
a lot of people.
how do you start that, right? Like how do you get a
Dude,
house that you can
yeah, it's
house
crazy.
I'm
So
not clients, but essentially patients, and you're like an addict. Like how'd you do that? And let
so
me tell you, my uncle tried to do this in North. That's a big business per person. They pay you guys handsomely.
well, not really. In the beginning, so first of all, I didn't even, it was a God thing. It was not my plan. I never wanted to work in treatment. I never wanted to help drug addicts. I wanted help. I didn't really care about helping other people. I needed help. And I've been through 15 rehabs. I didn't want to start a rehab. But what happened was I went and got a job in aviation. I was brokering airplane parts around the world. And I always been in sales. I always had a hustle to me. I love this job. I was up in the middle of the night talking to Qantas Airlines in Australia and just hustling. And I was making like 2,500 a month, which in 2010 wasn't terrible, but the rent in California is 1,500. So I was getting by, but what happened was I went home to Ohio in August of 2010. Went to the same bar that we all go to, and all my friends saw me. None of them even recognized me. Two of my friends had heroin on at the time. They said, "Hey man, whatever you're doing in Cali, we want to do." I said, "Okay, just move out there, and I'll show you what I'm doing." So these cats moved out. I had a 3 bedroom house. I went and got a 3 bedroom house that was like 2 grand a month. Put them in the other 2 rooms,
Renting.
and
You're
just
renting this house.
yeah, renting at the time, and
And you was
and
able
I
to
was
turn
just,
it into a business?
dude, look, people jokingly called it the Ohio House because we throw parties and shit, sober barbecues and stuff, and it was just 3 kids from Ohio living there. So people just called it the Ohio House. Next thing you know, my phone's ringing from strangers. Hey, you got any beds at the Ohio House? So I started bringing strangers up the street that somehow got my number, and it was just created really without my doing. Like these cats were staying sober and their lives were changing. And then next thing you know, um, my house is full, 6 people, and this guy comes knock on my door. His name was Andres. He knocked on my door and he said, "Hey man, I need help. I heard about this place." And I was like, "How many days sober you got?" He's like, "3. I'm on the streets, heroin." I didn't have any room for him except my bed. So I said, "You know what? You can come in. You can take my bed. I'll move out." I went to at the time I had a girlfriend. I went to her house. And when I went to her house, now I had a guy at that house that been there the longest. I made him the manager, and I started showing him how to do what I was doing. And then there was a house that went up for lease right across the street from my girlfriend's house. And I was like, shit, I could get a second one right here and I can manage both of them. And boom, I did. And then that was the history, man. And I started creating a model that,
Yeah, but how are
uh,
you paying them the rent for 2 houses now? Because you haven't talked about money yet.
I called my dad up. I said, "Hey man, can I get 20 grand for this business?" He's like, "No." So I quit my job. He even told me, he said, "If you're gonna do this Ohio House thing full time, you better make it work." And I was like, "Yeah, I got to." Um, so I got a house that I'm paying 2 grand, and I'm charging these guys $600 a month. So I got 6 guys in there. So I'm almost doubling my money. I take the profits, I roll it into the second house. Now I'm
No
scraping by.
struggles, because I'm sorry to keep cutting you off, but you're dealing with fiends, so it's like nobody was
Yeah.
stiffing you for the 600.
No, no. The people that were coming
Wow.
through were attracted to what we had going on. They wanted to be a part of this. They wanted to be. It was like a brotherhood. It was like a fraternity. Like they came in and like there was no bullshit. Like it wasn't like the rest of these places where, it's more corporate. This was like the real deal. This was like we're in this shit together. Um,
Wow.
and like if you want to show up late or try to get high or do some fuck shit, you're gone. So it was
Money up
working.
front or money after you complete
Oh no, these guys were on payment. All of them were on payment plans.
payment
Some of them had to
plans?
pay $30 a day. Some of them had to pay weekly. Some of them could pay for the whole month up front. Then I started getting parents paying for their kids because
Nice.
then I had a friend go to a treatment center and he called me from the treatment center. He said, "I want to come to the Ohio House." They're like, "Who the fuck's the Ohio House?" They were in Palm Springs. It was Betty Ford. So I called out Betty Ford. I didn't have a website. I didn't have a business card. I didn't have any brochures. But once Betty Ford called me, I was like, "I'll be there tomorrow." I went to FedEx Kinko's, printed out some trifolds, called it the Ohio House, made a website, showed up with some business cards. Next thing you know, I'm meeting with the discharge coordinators and the therapists and the counselors, and they're like, "Damn, this place is sweet." So now Betty Ford, the inpatient rehabs, start sending me clients for aftercare. When they're done with rehab, they need to go to aftercare with Brandon at the Ohio House. So it just blew up, man. I got to the point where I had like 20 houses, and then I started buying houses, and yeah, man, it was a good business. Then I started an outpatient facility where the guys could go get continued treatment. Their insurance could pay for that. They had to come out of pocket to live at the Ohio House, and yeah, it's still around today.
Wow, man. Um, I couldn't find any financial numbers on if you sold that, but there, I mean, I found something interesting on this juice company that you started and that it became publicly traded, bro. It's like you fall up. Like,
Dude,
people start businesses, but their businesses don't get to the point where they can publicly trade. And then it says that it sold for hundreds of millions?
so in 2015, I was still smoking Newports. I was smoking a pack of Newports a day, and all these cats in my sober living room, everyone was smoking cigarettes. And vaping had started to take off in Southern California. And so I wanted to quit smoking. I didn't want to start a vape company. I wanted to quit smoking. One of the guys that went through my program was a scientist guy from Ohio, chemist dude. Used
Wait,
to make
wait, wait,
meth.
wait. So a dude that went through the Ohio house ends up being a chemist.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was a meth. He was a meth cook.
Oh shit! So he was like
Yeah,
street smart. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Wow. So you guys created the juice?
Yeah, so I said, "Hey man, let's quit smoking." He's like, "I can make this stuff." So we bought all the materials, and I'd come home late at night, and he'd come over to my house, and we'd make this stuff, and we made like 5 flavors, and I quit smoking. And so I had all these extra
Bro,
bottles.
wait, 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 wait. Because the best part is that you made it in your bathtub.
Oh yeah. Well, we started making it in hotel bathtubs too. So I I went and I dropped all the stuff off at the Ohio House. And I said, "Hey guys, if you want to quit smoking, this shit helped me." I was just giving it away. Everyone liked it. So then one kid brought it to a local vape shop. The local vape shop was like, "Yo, what is this shit? It's just in a bottle, unlabeled." He's like, "Well, you got to call this guy Brandon." He calls me up. I was like, "I'll be there in 10 minutes." So I was like, he's like, how much, how many, what's your MOQ? I was like, "What's that even mean?" He said, "Minimum order quantity." And in my head, I was like, if I'm gonna sell this stuff to this guy, I need, if it's gonna be worth my time, I need a minimum order of 500 bottles. And he laughed at me. He said, the MOQ in this industry is 100 bottles. I was like, "Well, if you want this shit, you're gonna have to buy 500." And he did. So I went back and I looked at the shelves and I was like, "There's no brands in this space. It's just stickers on bottles." And I'm a creator, and I was like, "I'm going back. I'm gonna make a brand and do it." And so I sold them 500 bottles. I walked into my brother's office. I said, "Hey, I'm starting a vape company. Do you want in?" He said, "Yes." So I was like, "All right." I put in
Wait,
$60,000.
wait, wait. That's too easy, bro. How'd you get your brother? Is this a point in your life? How many years sober? Like, how'd you get your family to believe in you again?
Well, my brother was working for me. At
Holy
that
shit.
time, I had 5 years sober. I'm 5 years in the business with the Ohio House. I'm starting to make a little bit of bread. I recruited my brother, who was a college grad working on Capitol Hill in DC, doing a big boy, medical sales job. I got him to quit his job and come work with me. So he was now my partner at the Ohio House for 2 years. When I started Charlie's, I put 60,000 into it and never raised a penny or borrowed a dollar. And we started cooking, So I started renting out hotel rooms, bringing people in there, making this stuff myself. Fast forward a few years, we got manufacturing facilities in 5 different countries. I sold the product in over 100 countries. We were doing, $3 million a month in sales. I had 100 plus employees. So when I ended up taking it public in 2019, 5 years later after starting it, we had got a valuation of 105 million bucks. Um, and so I sold 30% of the company and took it public. And so still to this day, I'm the largest shareholder of the company, but I don't work there anymore.
That's dope. Like, that's the
Yeah.
definition of passive income. Wow. I thought you sold the company. You still own it. Fucking hell.
So I sold 30% of it.
Yeah, I mean, that ain't shit. You still own it. That's yours. Wow.
Yeah.
Man, bro,
30.
congratulations. That is an amazing story. I mean, I'm asking fighters this every time now that I've watched the Clarissa Steele's movie, but whoa, you got biopic written all over this story. Have you thought about a screenplay or a book or something visual? I'm a visual guy. I need visuals.
Dude, you want a visual? Check this shit out. My best friend moved out here 8 years ago to get clean and sober. He worked at Charlie's for a week and then he disappeared. He went to the streets, never saw him again. 8 years, never heard from him. He's my best friend. I've known him since fourth grade. His family, never heard from him. 8 years, this guy's on the streets, homeless, right? No one knows where he is. No one knows anything about him. I had a dream about him 3 weeks ago. And I woke up from the dream and he was like, me and my fiance and him, we went bungee jumping. And I was like, "Damn, that was a cool dream." So I called his brother up like I do like every year. I said, "Hey, have you heard from Tyler?" He's like, "Coincidentally enough, my other brother heard from him for the first time in 7 years last Saturday." I was like, "No shit." So I called his other brother. I'm like, what did he say?" He's like, "I screen recorded the FaceTime." So I said, "Send it to me." He's homeless in a tent and he's, babbling. And I make out that he's homeless in Westminster. That's like 30 minutes from me. So for like 2 weeks, I'm driving around Westminster looking for my boy, talking to cops, talking to homeless people, just looking around, not finding him. But one day I'm up there looking for him, and I see a group of 6 homeless guys on the side of the road. So I'm gonna go ask these guys if they know my boy. So I get out of the car. I'm looking at all 6 of them. Approaching 6 homeless guys is a little sketchy. You gotta go about it the right way. And I'm looking at all of them like, who am I gonna talk to? And I just pick one of them. I'm like, "Hey, I'm looking for my boy. My last name is Stump." I said, "I'm looking for my boy." And before I could even get his name out, I hear Stump. My boy was one of the fucking dudes. No teeth in his mouth.
Damn.
Fucking bro, he stands up crying.
What,
He's
so he was
hugging me.
on
He's like,
meth?
"What?" meth and fentanyl, dude. He had no teeth in his mouth. He hadn't slept indoors in 7 years. He hadn't taken a
Lord.
shower in a year. His legs falling off from cellulitis. He's fucking completely busted. And I was like, hey, bro, you can leave this life behind. All you gotta do is grab that bag and say, let's fucking go. And I never seen anyone say yes so fast in my life. He looked down at his backpack, grabbed it, and said, let's fucking go. And dude, the rest of these homeless people, he didn't even say bye to them. You know, he'd been living with these, and these guys were crying. You know, seeing me take him to the parking lot. So that dude, that was 3 weeks ago. I put him
3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago.
today. Yeah. So
Wow.
normally you get a guy off the street like that. I took him to the hospital. They're like, dude, this guy was about to die. His leg's about to fall off. They gave him IV fluids, all that stuff. Anyways, normally you get a guy off the streets like that, or any guy trying to get sober, and within 3 days they're back at doing it again. Well, that guy is still sober. He's at the program still right now. He's got 3 weeks sober. His mom just flew out. His mom called me. She's like, I heard that you found Tyler. I was like, yeah. The day I found him, she's like, it was 2 days after Mother's Day. She's like, on Mother's Day I was in church and I was praying to God that I could hear my son's voice. That's all I wanted was to hear his voice. I put her on speakerphone. I said, Tyler, it's your mom. They started crying, man. It was like to be a part of that. Like I never been in the presence of God so strong in my entire life. And so when you talk about like movies or biopics or book, man, I'm living it. I'm just living it on a daily basis. Avious is a huge part of that, man. When I had my struggles, I couldn't call anybody except for Avious. Avious was the guy I called because I knew he
Nah,
wasn't
he
going to
told
judge
me,
me.
man. He told me, he said he had to talk to you and tell you, like, yo, you got to get it together. And that you listened and you definitely got back on track.
Yeah.
That's dope, man. That is an amazing story for sure, man. Um, wow. So what's up with Ryan? Are you still with him? What's going on with Blue Chip?
I'm still with him. Ryan's working through some things outside the ring, man. So we're still working with him. We're still working on that, trying to help him as much as I can.
And I've never heard of him, but you're linked to some guy named Soto Chorus.
Soto Karas.
Oh, they spelled it
I'm
wrong
not.
then.
I'm not linked to him, but that's the guy I got to fight Blue Chip. Soto Karas
Yeah,
was
no,
a
I know Soto Caras. They spelled it Koros. So I didn't know who the fuck that was. But yeah, Soto Caras, I know. Former
yeah,
champ,
yeah.
not former champ, but he fought Berto. Couple
Yep.
people. Man. Well, I got some questions from the people. Hopefully, I have that pulled up. I do. First one is coming from Malcolm in New York City. He says, what is the biggest challenge in recovery that media doesn't often cover? Read about your story, and I want to salute you.
Appreciate that. Uh, well, media doesn't cover a lot of this stuff. There's a stigma around addiction. You know, it's like one of those things that no one really wants to talk about. It's like the elephant in the room. Even the families don't want to talk about it. If they got a son or a daughter or a brother that's hooked on dope, it's kind of like you don't even want to talk about it. So I would have to say the stigma around just even normalizing the conversation around it. Because look, at the end of the day, this shit's normal. Everybody's going through something. Everyone's got their challenges. We're all human beings. Yours might not be addiction. It might be pornography, or it might be money, or it might be family issues. It might be relationship issues. It might be depression. It might be anxiety. It might be, loneliness, whatever. Mine just happened to be drug addiction, So I would just say normalizing the conversation.
So how'd you get it done, bro? Because the Jake Paul is huge. That would have to be your biggest accomplishment in boxing, right? Getting one of your fighters signed to such a big promoter, someone that could certainly catapult Griffin with his style.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that was real nice. That was a real nice deal, man. I say, there's a guy over there named Mike Leonardi. Real
Get
fucking
out
good
of here.
dude.
That's who got it done for you? I fucking know Mike, man. We used to work together in this business a couple years back here in Vegas. No way. Shout out to Mike.
Yo, Mike's good people, man. So Jake's from Cleveland. I'm from Cleveland. Avius always wanted to work with Jake. He liked the way he moved. So for the last 2 years, I had got a hold of Mike Leonardi about 2.5 years ago. And so we just stayed in touch. Every time Avius would fight, I'd let him know. After he fought, I'd send him the marketing materials, the video. So I just stayed in touch with Mike for like 2.5 years, and off every fight. And I'd say, hey man, if Jake's looking for the next face of boxing, if he's looking for the next Gervonta Davis, he's right fucking here, you know. And we just kept moving. He was watching us. He was watching. We kept moving Avious up in competition, and he kept doing the same shit. He kept, as we move him up, he was still doing the same shit, and just these guys were getting pieced up. Didn't matter, and finally I got Avius in a good scrap. His last fight, that guy was good, and he had a name. So before the fight, Mike Leonardi texted me. He said, "Hey, good luck." I said, "Hey, yeah, you're gonna have to tune into this one, man." He's like, "I am." And then I'm walking. Avius knocks him down 3 times in the first 2 rounds, and just punishes this guy for 8 rounds, 7 rounds straight till he gets a TKO in the eighth or seventh. I'm walking to the locker room after the fight. I get a text from Mike Leonardi. Great win. Let's talk next week. And so at the time, I had already been in negotiations with a couple other promoters about Avius that were moving along pretty nicely. And Mike called me up. We started chopping it up. I was like, it just seemed right. They sent me a contract. It didn't seem right compared to what we were looking at. I told him, I said, hey man, we'd love to do business, but we got to get these numbers up. Everything's got to look a little bit better. And he talked to Jake and
Did that
Nikisa.
make you nervous? Because honestly, again, like I said, inspirational. My audience knows that, my goal is either to promote club shows or manage one day. But that situation, I feel like I would have been nervous. Like, fuck, do I really
Hell no.
haggle? Do I haggle
Hell
and blow
no.
my man's opportunity? Like, what did you go through in that
Hell
moment
no.
mentally?
Hell no. So we built up a value in Avius Griffin. We're having this conversation. He's 17-0 now with 16 knockouts. He's ranked ninth in the country on BoxRec, 22nd in the world. He's number 22 in the WBC. He's got a US WBC belt. He's the best promotional free agent in the sport of boxing. So hell no, I ain't worried about talking about our numbers need to go up, because that's his value. I wasn't asking for too much. I wasn't asking for something that wasn't, you know, fair market value of what we had with Avius. I'm a fair guy. I wasn't you know, working him out of a deal. And he talked to Jake, and Jake flew us out to New York, wanted to do a vibe check during his press conference for the Katie Taylor fight, and it was all good. We linked up. Jake was cool as fuck. Nikisa, cool as fuck. We came back and got the got with their lawyer Rick Torres and
Did
Mike.
did Nikisa take off his glasses?
I can't remember.
That motherfucker always got some shades on, right? I wondered if for the
Nikisa, man,
business
that's who you
meeting,
got to
did
get
he
on the
take them off
show.
for the business meeting?
Hey, that's the guy you got to get on the show, man. That dude's got a crazy story too.
Bro, help me. I met him in person in Orlando, and I said, Nikisha, let me. And he didn't want to do an interview, so I don't really do interviews like that. But I see him on Errol Hawani. Yeah, help me, bro. I mean, I asked him, what
Yeah,
show was that? Maybe it was the Berlanga show, or maybe it was one of their MVP shows. I went to a lot of their shows because I'm really cool with Amaury Piedra from Box Lab, and they do those co-promotions. But the one time I talked to him in person, he wasn't interested at that moment. I don't know if that's an everyday thing, but yeah, I would love to get that guy on. I know a little bit about his story. He's another inspirational guy.
sure.
I hear he came under. Dana White, obviously, Jake has that issue with Dana, so it's like he stole Nikisha away from Dana. I would love that story, man.
Well, shit, Jake kind of stole Avius from Dana too. That's we were in talks with TKO, man. We were like at the finish line. We had a nice deal cooking with them, and then Jake
Wait,
and
wait, wait. So those rumors that were floating around about those alleged purses, that was nothing near what you sat down to see on your contract. Did you ever get to see those rumored numbers that were floating around about what TKO was going to be
those
paying the
those
fighters?
weren't rumored. Those weren't rumored numbers. Those are
Those
real.
were
Those are
real.
real. Those are real numbers.
So how could you? Because I'm confused now. Because you said we were close to signing, we had a sweet deal. Those numbers didn't look good.
Well, I don't. Now I'm confused on what numbers you were seeing, but we're going from paying $25,000 a show on Avious to talking about making hundreds of thousands. I mean, those are good numbers, you know.
All right. Well, now maybe you had something different. Obviously you got a contract that was different from what was rumored on the internet. They were just low purses. A lot of fighters that seen it said that they would never. But now you're saying that you were on the brink of signing. I know for a fact Julian Rodriguez Hammerhands, who's fighting Avis, he did sign.
Oh, did he?
Yes. He's
Oh,
just
so we was
he's
we was gonna
allowed.
fight him anyways.
Yeah, you were gonna fight him anyway. So he's
I didn't.
allowed to go fight on this card, but he said he's officially signed to them.
Oh, that makes this fight so much even sweeter.
In what way?
I mean, shit.
You get to knock off a TKO
We
prospect.
we get to knock off their guy right before he even has his first fight with him.
Yep, yeah. Yeah, I interviewed both Avis and Julian. I know Julian from New Jersey, my time in New Jersey, and he's a good kid. He got power though. I hope you
Yeah,
watch tape. Power in both hands.
yeah. People
Yeah.
people don't know people don't know who Avius Griffin is and what he's all about, man. They're gonna find out June 28th. This dude is special. Okay, and when he starts to step up and he starts to get on these bigger stages and more people get to see what he's all about, he's just gonna it's gonna be electrifying. People are gonna gravitate to this guy. He's a natural leader, man. People just want to follow him inside the gym, inside his community. I mean, he's such an inspirational leader. I mean, I'm so excited for him. June 28th is going to be just an amazing, well, it's an amazing fight for him. Great stage,
Mhm.
hardest opponent he's ever faced in his professional career, hands down, for sure. Julian Rodriguez, gotta respect him. This is the most important fight of his life for Avius, and I think he's going to come out on top, and I think he's going to come out in a very exciting fashion.
So
It's
you
I'm
got it.
sorry. It
No, you
says
got it.
that he's coming off a 10-fight knockout streak.
Yeah, shit. He's got 17 wins, and only one person got away. He's
He's
got
got
like
on his last
you got
on
like a
Box Rec,
you
his
got
last
like a
10 fights
you
is
got like a
knockout.
you got like a 6% chance of walking out of the ring when you get in there with him.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Yeah.
So who's Robbie Morse?
That's funny, man. That's my guy. That's the guy. That's the coach from the Ohio House boxing team. That's my best friend.
So how meeting him change your life? I'm just trying to piece it together here.
I was walking down the street. I had just left a 12-step meeting. I was high. I was living in my car. He came up to me. He said, "Hey, bro, I used to sell illegal cable in Houston, Texas, door to door. I was a heroin addict. I got 10 years sober." He's like, "Let me get your number." He got my number. One day I'm sitting in my car, hungry, homeless, high. I get a call from Robbie. He said, "Hey, you want to go to Denny's?" I said, "I don't got no money for Denny's." He said, "Meet me at Denny's. I got you." So I showed up to Denny's. It was the first time in my life I never said a word. He started telling me his story, and I just listened. And that dude lived my life. And 5 days later, I asked him to be my sponsor and take me through the 12 steps, and that dude saved my life.
Wow. All right. All right. Well, let me get back to these people's questions here. We got Mad Ben in Kansas City. How do you prepare mentally for your fighter's fight? I guess.
Like the day of the fight,
Well, yeah, for your fighters that are going through a fight, is that an issue for you, or how do you get through it mentally, or prepare for it
man,
rather?
I get to match their energy. So every Kurt Scooby and Avius Griffin are polar opposites. They're completely different, and they're so close. They're really good friends. They're brothers. But I mean, when I go to a Kurt Scooby fight, it's completely different than when I go to an Avius Griffin fight. They're both perfect in their own sense. So I don't really got to do much mentally to prepare for anything because I get to match my guys' energies, and I know what they need from me, and I just show up and be myself.
That. I got Juice. He says, "Yo, Juice from Broward County. How do you get into managing? Do you have to have a boatload of money?" That
Yeah, man,
takes
this shit ain't cheap. This shit ain't cheap, man. If you want to get into managing a fighter, I'll tell you this right now. I got the numbers right here. I'm 3 years into this. He wants to talk about both. I'm about. Let me see.
you got the spreadsheet. This what I'm fucking
Got the
talking
numbers right
about.
here. Let's go to the receipts. What we got? All right. So, I keep track of everything, and I am over. See, here's the thing with me. I wanted to do more for less, not less for more, and so I invested like a motherfucker in these guys. Not just like, hey, they need an opponent. Um, they needed a brand. I created their logos. They needed a website. They needed material. So, shit. I'm at on the underdog. Shit, I'm over 400,000 invested in the underdog. I'm over 125,000 invested in Scooby. Combined on top of both of them, I'm at another 200. So I'm at 200. 325, 425, 525. I'm at 700,000 out of pocket in 3 years. 700,000. That's how much I believe in these two guys. Now you can
Shit.
do it for cheap.
Now
You
let
can
me
do it for
tell you, I wouldn't even know that that was the amount, but hearing it, it's obvious because they're known. Like you made them popular. I mean, maybe Scooby had a little help because you got him a deal with Lou DiBella early and he's a recognizable name. But Avis, bro, I've been following him for a minute. I was in Vegas before he got here. When he got here, I was watching him. And we stood in contact and he was fighting on club shows. I didn't know how the fuck he was staying active like that. But yeah,
oh
that
we we
that that
we
costs money.
active
No,
active as fuck. That's the first thing I told these guys when if you sign in the CTV, we working like we're fighting like all year.
yeah, man. Nah, shout out to you. Hopefully it pays off. Are you fearful, or does it look like, yeah, this investment paid off? Or since you come from, this recovery and addiction, is it more just like spiritual for you? You just want to see people do good. You're not really count. I mean, you got the spreadsheet, so you counting the numbers, but do it matter as much as maybe I'm perceiving it to matter?
Fuck yeah, man. So like I've never invested financially or my time in anything that's taken so long to get any return. So, like I said, I started that vaping company with $60,000. 5 years later, it's worth 105 million. The Ohio house I started with 1,200 bucks. Um, so boxing, I I had the time on my hands, and I wanted to do something with it that could create more value for my life. I'm 30. I just turned 40 last week. I'm not done. I want to
Fuck
live
no, far from it at 40, bro.
far
And
from
you've
done.
accomplished a lot to be 40. There's still a whole lot to go.
Yeah. So yeah, I want this shit to pay off. Am I fearful? Um, No, if I was fearful, I would have never put anything near $700,000 into something. I feel like I got two diamonds in the rough, and the fact that Kurt Scooby took that loss, maybe 4 or 5 fights ago, I thought that was the best thing for him and his
Nah,
career.
nah, nah. Hell no. You had to be shitting bricks. Why? Listen, I
No,
didn't think he was gonna lose to Dakota. But
no,
I told my audience, I don't know how y'all took that fight because Dakota's a dog. He's so awkward. And he's done that before. I think he upset Josue Vargas and somebody else. It broke my heart to watch him upset Scooby. I can't believe he got that off. Honestly, I couldn't. I didn't know how he did that shit. Damn, we got a call.
uh,
Oh, you back? But we don't see you.
yeah. Yeah, I had to send a text that I'm late to this next appointment, but
Oh, I'm sorry,
yeah,
man.
no,
If you
no,
wanna
no, no,
cut it,
no,
we
no.
can.
My pleasure. No, maybe like 5, 10 minutes. I gotta roll, but no. So Kurt Scooby taking that loss was fantastic. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. He was floating on some shit that he needed to come down from, and
Really?
that was a big slice of humble pie, man. And I never seen anyone react. I told him, we were in the ring. I was in the ring with them after they called Dakota's name. I said, listen to how that sounds. Feel this moment. Remember what it feels like. Remember what it sounds like. Um,
But what does
because
he
you ain't
think he
never.
did wrong? Because he's in phenomenal
He
shape. So
didn't
what does he
prepare.
attribute
He
the
didn't
loss to?
prepare. shit, he didn't prepare. He didn't prepare for his specific opponent. He was preparing just to fight. He wasn't doing the stuff that we got to do on the opponents. He got out. He wanted to change coaches. I said, okay. I love Don Saxby and Cat, but okay. He went and got with his new guys, and everything is great. I mean,
Shit, who's he
his
with?
he's with always always fucking forgetting his name. Me and him haven't had the chance to get super close. He's out of Massachusetts. No,
Oh, Hector
feeling like,
Bermudez?
yeah, I feel like an idiot right now. Yeah,
Spanish?
Hector. Yeah, Hector Bermudez.
The one that got Rohan Polanco, are you sure?
Oh yeah, he's roommates with Rohan. They've been living together for
Oh,
about
man, I just had
year and a
Hector
half
on
now.
here, and he didn't even tell me, man. I just had Hector on here.
Yeah, Hector.
I'm gonna
Man,
have to go
Hector's
out to
got a crazy.
Massachusetts. He got a whole gym now.
Scooby leaving. Scooby will be there until Tuesday, and then he's flying to Philly. He's fighting next Friday night in Philly.
Wait, on the Danny
Welcome out
card?
here, Ness.
On
Is
the OTX card.
oh,
Yeah.
damn,
Now
I
you
ain't
coming
even
to
know
my
he had
stomping grounds,
Scooby.
Ness.
All right,
I'll
well, let's
pick
get
you
you
up.
out of here real quick, Brandon. We got one more from Dom in the OKC. He says, congrats on your success. It's really inspiring to hear your story. My question is, have you ever had a meeting with Netflix about turning your life story into a mini series? Because I think it would be a hit.
To
I
watch that.
appreciate that. Appreciate that. No, I haven't talked to. I haven't talked to. I'm gonna show you guys something. Uh, I haven't talked to Netflix or anybody, but while I was homeless and in the middle of my addiction, I was writing every day, and I got books of stuff for a
What?
documentary
Like
one day.
those are stories or what? Hard times, journals? What is that?
That's a journal. Every
Oh,
day of me
journal.
just write. That's just journals of everything I was going through and everything that I went through.
Oh,
And
It's all on paper.
you don't have any formal
that's
schooling, right?
priceless.
No, I went to college for a couple of years and failed out.
Man, you're my fucking hero, bro. Shout out to you. Nah,
I
seriously, bro.
appreciate
You're
you.
killing it, man. That's amazing. I got Quan in Cleveland. Great, inspiring story. You got me super motivated. My question is, when it comes to addiction, is the fix simply changing your daily routine, doing something else, or is it more of a mental thing?
Uh, it's a lot of
It's
everything.
it's all that, but for me, I had to tap into a power greater than myself. I had to tap into some sort of spiritual life
Hmm.
that I didn't have, and so I had to start believing, that there was some God out there that was going to come into my life and help me, and just putting my faith in something that I couldn't see or couldn't even believe, and just acting as if He was real. I started praying and started like looking within and started bringing God into the equation on my daily life, and I've just been blessed ever since. And so, yeah, I'd say all that stuff, but also try to incorporate.
And your
I'm
family
not,
doesn't come. Your guys are not like traditionally religious. Like your mom isn't like a born again Christian that's been going to church all her life. Like there's no
my mom,
prayer
my mom,
from your
my,
parents. Is what I'm trying to see. If there was someone praying for you all those years.
hell yeah, there was. My mom's
Okay.
Catholic. I grew up in the Catholic Church. I didn't
Okay.
like the Catholic
Okay.
Church.
I see you.
Yeah, I had a tribe of people praying for me.
That's what it takes, my brother. That's what it takes, man. I've had plenty of ups and downs, but thank God my mother was always keeping me in prayer. I got Ruin of 504 that says, do you think it's time to return to state regulations and end the Ali Act?
I ain't even going front. I don't even understand the Ali Act.
Word.
So I mean,
I'm
promoters,
with you.
managers, I don't even understand the shit. So I don't know.
Last one. What's your favorite music artists and give us one good movie we should watch that's coming from Octo.
Okay. Um, I grew up a hip hop head, man. So I'd have to say my favorite album is that Most Def and Talib Kweli Black Star. I got it
Okay.
tatted on my leg. Um, and as far as movies go, I was just on a plane flying back from Spain 2 days ago, and I watched this movie with Jason Statham. It's called like Working Man or something. That shit was good.
Oh yeah, I think I just seen that. Yeah.
That shit was good.
Well, that is all the questions, Brandon. This was an amazing interview. We're gonna really want to get you back on. Obviously, a little closer, maybe to one of the guys. I guess after their fights, they're both fighting. We could do some victory laps. But man, we appreciate you giving us your story and talking a little bit of boxing with
Hell
us,
yeah.
letting us know how you got started. We really appreciate you. Give out your social media and anywhere you want people to, find you.
Hey, I really appreciate you having me on. I remember meeting you for the first time like 2.5 years ago over at Top Rank. We were chopping it up while they were sparring, man.
Yeah.
So appreciate you. You can find me at Monkey Mind on Instagram is Monkey and then three underscores Mind, and the Came to Believe Athletics CTB Athletics page is at CTB Athletics.
All right. I appreciate
But
you,
yeah,
man.
I'd love to
Best
come
of
on
luck, man.
after
Keep
Avious
winning.
and Scooby. Let's keep winning, man.
Keep
Appreciate
winning,
you.
man. That story's inspiring, man. Appreciate you.
Nice to meet you,
Peace.
man.